Tell me, friend, have you heard the good news?
No, I'm no thanks.
I'm just fucking with you. Jesus doesn't give a shit.
Fox Searchlight Pictures invites you
Driving, asshole!
to meet a man
Wilson.
You are such a beautiful girl.
Dude, she needs to leave.
who wants the world to accept him
My wife left me 17 years ago.
So what is in there?
I just need to move on, find somebody new. Not you necessarily.
in the worst possible way.
Working man, eh? 40 years from now, you're gonna be on your deathbed saying, where did it all go?
How did we end up like this?
There's a lot of seats, you know, in this train.
Here she is.
Looks like your ex-wife put this girl up for adoption 17 years ago.
I'm a father! Yes!
That's life.
How could you not tell me that we had a daughter?
Excuse me, do you think I could get this with the aioli on the side as I requested? Yes.
I think you should know, we have tickets to Wicked.
Hey, dickhead, shut the fuck up. Can't you see that this woman is having a profound moment?
I said that's life.
You tell me that you don't want to see your daughter.
What do you want to do, stalk her?
And as funny as it may seem.
Hey, Claire, Jenny Craig's over here.
Hey, you need to shut the fuck up, you little prick! That's my daughter!
If you're wondering about the lack of family resemblance, she used to be a real hippo.
Pick myself up and get back in the race.
Yes!
That's life.
You're dragging me along for this insane Insta-family?
You guys are so beautiful.
And I can't deny it.
My ex, she's a good woman. I just have to help her embrace her maternal nature.
Sorry, I can't help you with that.
In that case, I guess I'll take a blowjob then. I should have brought my wallet.
That's life.
That is quite a tattoo.
How's that?
It's like the ultimate argument ender. Like, no, I don't want your fucking job. I want to destroy your entire society.
Laura, Craig, Isabella, welcome to Build. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us. Hi, everybody.
Hi. Hi.
I love the enthusiasm in this room. Yes, yes. So Wilson is the charming, feel-bad, feel-good movie of the year so far, I think.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Has this been a whirlwind of a press tour? I've seen you guys all over at least the webosphere over the past few days. Is this an onslaught?
In the best kind of way. I mean, there's nothing more pleasurable, as you know, when you're in love with a movie than getting to talk about it and talk about why it means something to you. So
Yeah, this is the fun part, you know. You work a long time on these movies and they take forever to put together, but this to me is the celebration part of it, where you get to share the movie with people. We had a premiere here a couple nights ago that was just a blast, and you get to talk about the movie. So this is what kind of makes it all worthwhile for me.
And plus, so many great memories come back up when you're remembering everything, because you forget a lot of things that happen on set, you know, especially when it was 2 years ago. So it's been really great to remember everything. And
walk down memory lane.
Yeah, it's been cute.
Well, Craig, I want to ask you, so Craig directed The Skeleton Twins, a wonderful movie with Kristen Wiig and Bill Hader a few years ago. And I'm curious is there an animal down there? I think there's an animal down there.
Oh,
Love him.
a fan.
Yes.
An animal.
And I'm curious, after directing The Skeleton Twins, how many doors open for you in terms of casting? I mean, you're able to get your hands on Laura Dern and Woody Harrelson. What was the avenue that was built as a result of the success of that movie?
Well, working with actors is my favorite part of the process. I love it. I wanted to be an actor when I was a kid. I was a theater kid, and people liked the performances in The Skeleton Twins. So I do feel like I had a little more access to, you know, people that when I was casting The Skeleton Twins, I wouldn't have had access to. But it all, you know, for actors, and I know this from wanting to be an actor. It's all about the material. I mean, we can let the actors speak, but actors want to play interesting roles, and I'm interested in working with good actors, so I'm also interested in interesting roles. And Wilson, which was not a script I wrote, it was given to me after Skeleton Twins came out. It was suggested to me and sent to me, probably because of the sort of salty, sweet tone of it, which is similar to Skeleton Twins. And I just, one of the things that struck me were these great roles for actors, and so I thought, ooh, maybe I can get to work with people I've always wanted to work with.
Well, the first thing that I thought upon finishing this movie when I saw it a couple of weeks ago was that it almost reads as a Citizen Ruth sequel. This could be what happens to your character from Citizen Ruth about 20 or so. I guess that's about how long it's been since that movie. Have you entertained that thought at all?
Well, I've certainly thought two things. A lot about the comparison of the characters, or they're the most probably delicious fun I've had. And also, I learned a lot making that film about this kind of tone. And I think Daniel Clowes's writing certainly fits in with that writing about how carefully a filmmaker needs to navigate this and hopefully bring all us actors along for the ride, which Craig does so beautifully and brilliantly and gives us all the room to be hopefully fearless and try to make it funny while keeping the poetry in it at the same time.
Well, speaking of fearless, you do have a pretty killer fight scene with Cheryl Hines in this movie. Cheryl Hines plays your sister. Yeah. How many coffee pots did you fling at the wall by the time you were done
we
with
haven't
that
gotten
scene?
this question
Yes,
yet.
first time. I think three
or
coffee
four.
pots?
Yeah, and we had breakaway glass ones, fake ones, for when they shatter. So that's fake glass. But I do remember when we shot your side of it, throwing the pot, it was the real one, and we tried to build kind of this net to catch it, and one real one shattered. I remember
that's
one.
right.
And we all went, like in the outtakes, I see you going, ooh.
It was so much fun. It shouldn't be that much fun, and it really is.
Well, how choreographed is the scene? I mean, at what point you're like crawling over the kitchen counter to like lunge at her, and then at the end you're like kind of yelling all over the room, kind of screeching. I mean, how much of that comes to you in the moment versus Craig's direction and
well, I would say it's the most rehearsed sequence in the movie.
It was, yeah, for sure. Because you have to
keep her safe.
Yeah.
And with my rage and her being safe.
Yeah, you have a fight coordinator. You choreograph it. You do everything in slow motion beforehand. We had some stunt doubles, although not for Laura. She did all her own stunts.
Don't need all that.
I requested that.
Isabella, I'm curious, it's interesting that your character is navigating what it's like to meet her biological parents out of the blue for the first time. I assume kind of with your career kind of taking off, you have Spider-Man Homecoming this summer, right?
Yes, I do. June 7th, everyone.
Never heard of it.
Yeah.
What's Spider-Man?
Who?
Marvel?
Who? Home what? With all of that coming together at once, I'm curious whether you relate to the experience of kind of navigating meeting these actors who you've admired for I assume, your life growing up wanting to become an actress of your own. What's it like to get to kind of figure out how to build relationships with these people who've been in the industry for so long?
I mean, at first getting into it, it's very nerve-wracking and you're very anxious to meet everyone. You're a bit starstruck. But now it's just kind of natural to me. I mean, I just have to remind myself, these are real people. They live normal lives. They have their own problems, their own families. And it's kind of overwhelming when you meet someone and they freak out a bit, And I don't want to scare anyone off because I feel like I could do that probably really easily. But, I mean, now it's just kind of like a normal thing. Like the other day, I met Carol Kane. She walked up to me and said that I did a really good job in the movie, and I was like,
Carol King?
Yes.
Wow.
Carol Kane.
Carol Kane.
Yes.
Carol Kane.
Yes.
Also
Carol Kane.
wonderful.
Yes.
Yes, Carol Kane. And I was like, did she just tell me I was good? I immediately turned around to my mom, and I was like, like, I flipped out, but I like didn't show her. And I was like, you know, I didn't want to seem weird.
Well, and she's being a bit modest as well because we kicked her off the diving board on her first day. We plunked her in a car with you and Woody, and it was a scene actually with a bit of improvisation. And you just grabbed the ball and ran with it.
I had no choice.
You had no choice.
Grab the ball and run with it.
That's true.
I was like, okay, well, they're putting money on me, and it's my first time. It's a risk for them, so can't screw this one up.
She was incredible. And quickly knew how to cuss like a sailor and keep up with us in the scene. But I think what you're really trying to say, Isabella, is you were starstruck and then you met Woody and I and felt like, oh my God, these are like such real people with like their own families.
It was more like
so screwed up.
It was
just
more like
me.
I met you and Laura. It was more like I met you and Woody, and I was like, oh my God, do I really want to meet all these people? Like, they're all like this. No, but I love them. I love everyone in this cast. Like, everyone in this cast, they're all so down to earth and so real. And it's like even when I was talking to my dad the other night, he was like, I cannot believe still how down to earth Laura Dern is. And I was like, I know, like I thought she was gonna be nice, but like it was really nice but not fake, you know? And it was really refreshing to have that because in living in California, like you run into some kind of fake people. And it's nice to run into really refreshing people, which was really nice about the movie as well, because everyone was so real and refreshing and just up in front and honest.
We had a magical group and an incredible, really, summer vacation together in Minneapolis.
Yeah, it felt like summer camp in Minneapolis. Thank God we were there during the summer because it was Minneapolis.
We even had
beautiful.
our own yearbooks, so with the Wilson books, and we got
yeah.
them, which was really cute.
That's right, because it's based on a graphic novel, and so we had Daniel Klaus came, was there on set for a few days and spent most of the time signing everyone's book.
Laura, having grown up on film sets yourself with, you have the famous parents, wonderful parents that you have, and having started at a relatively young age, do you have similar experiences of feeling kind of thrust into this world with all these people that you admire on screens and then, forging these relationships with these people at a young age and what that teaches you and informs you about yourself and the industry that you're part of?
Well, certainly I'm as starstruck as anyone. We all are when we meet a hero. And certainly artists, but, people affecting change in the world, incredible environmentalists. Like, there are all kinds of people to just be freaking out over. Thank God. There are a few to not freak out over, too. The con men. There are a few of those, too. So, that's always been exciting. I love meeting someone and get to tell them how much their art or their voice means to me. But the amazing thing about being growing up on a film set and being the child of actors is you're a kid and you're not aware there's any reason to freak out. And you get to know people, and then sort of later people tell you what those people meant to you, who were just your mom or dad's friends. And I think that was very grounding for me. I was quite lucky. I was also very lucky to see the ebb and flow of any artist, actor, filmmaker's career. That's filled with challenge and compromise and even sacrifice at times to do the movies you really want to make. So I think, I was lucky to not learn that all along, but see it before I even started.
Isabella, what did you find was the key difference in being on a set the size of Spider-Man versus a set the size of Wilson?
It's very, very different, and I know Laura, she can definitely speak for the difference, between what you've been in. But there's a lot of security, which is kind of obvious because Marvel. But I really enjoy being on a smaller set where there's more creative freedom and everyone's just... we had 30 days to shoot at 58 locations, and that's a lot. And I never once felt stressed. I can't speak for Craig, but I never felt stressed. And it was wonderful, and everyone was happy and friendly. Whereas on sets like Marvel, everyone is very closed off, and they're just there to do their job and not really to get to know people for who they are, which is work, and it's fine. And I appreciate having that experience, and I loved being able to do it. But I personally prefer being on smaller sets such as Wilson, just because you get
there's a little bit, you're not going to make the paycheck that you do doing a Spider-Man movie, but what you get in return is in many ways more rewarding.
It is. It's
because
a lot.
The roles in smaller films or mid-sized films can often be more interesting or more challenging, and there is this feeling of like we're all here because we love doing it, and so a natural camaraderie kicks in. It does feel more, like summer camp, and if you win the lottery like we did with just sort of the mix of people, we hung out every weekend. Woody taught me to paddleboard on Lake Minnetonka. That was really fun.
And everyone genuinely was in love with the script. That was a big thing.
Yeah.
Everyone fell in love with the script and with the characters and with the cast and the crew and the location. And that's something you don't get that much, because the characters in all the Marvel movies are very mainstream. Nothing for the most part very diverse, So it's been really nice to be able to be in such a wonderful movie with these people.
Well, and Laura, Star Wars will be your first big budget blockbuster since Jurassic Park, I think.
Other than Wilson.
Other than Wilson, you meant to say, Matt.
Yes.
Sorry, he misspoke, you guys.
Fact check. What made you want to return to that world and that style of filmmaking, or dip into a new version of that world, I should say?
Well, it's exciting to see more and more that with what's seemingly a franchise also comes innovation in producers choosing wild, bold, independent filmmakers to make those movies. So as it was for me working with Steven Spielberg in 93 or 4 or whatever it was, who was the most incredible genius I could dream up. It wasn't like, I'm going to go do this other thing. It was like that was the brilliant, wild madness of independent filmmaking. He was like, we're gonna do this thing. It's called CGI, it's never been done. Where here's this thing. I'm like, what is that, a computer that moves? They're like, yeah, and you can paint something in the thing, and you don't see the dinosaur, we're gonna paint it in later. We were like, this is crazy. That was the experience. So it was like making this, innovative independent film. But in the case of Star Wars, for me, Rian Johnson comes from the world we do. He's made a few beautiful, small, independent films and now has this opportunity to be writing and directing a Star Wars. So it's an exciting time where it's all blurring together a bit. Even though the experiences can be radically different, there are innovators everywhere you look. That cable television is the new United Artists. It's a space where you can go and they give you autonomy and you make what you want to make at Netflix.
Netflix
HBO.
as well. Yeah.
That's
my
so
next movie I'm doing for Netflix, actually. So
it's very, very exciting.
Well, I guess that's a good segue to another cable show that is on right now that Laura
What show is that?
a part of. That is if you haven't seen Big Little Lies, leave right now. You are wasting your time right now, yes. And it's funny that Isabella plays your daughter and you have Amabella in your television
It's
experience.
meant to be.
Yes. I don't even know. I want to start with the wardrobe on both of these movies, because you have in Wilson, this crazy, frazzled, kind of edgy look about you, and on Big Little Lies, the wardrobe on that show, and I know you work with the same costume designer from Enlightened, is so enviable, and you embody those. They fit Renata, that wardrobe so aptly. What was it like stepping into the clothes of these two characters that are they're so different?
Well, I can only quote a very beloved fashion designer who said to a friend a couple of days ago who's loving both of these projects, Wilson and Big Little Lies, and he said, "Oh my God, if Renata Klein knew that you were also Pippi wearing those clothes, she would be horrified."
That's true. That is
I love
true.
the idea of Renata looking over her shoulder at Pippi, like, wait,
God.
I'm part of you? This is horrific. But, it's amazing. You like fashion, which I am such an admirer of the great art in the genius of fashion designers, we have this beautiful gift of costume and production design, these people who invent worlds and let us enter these characters. And, interestingly, other than your director, who you start the conversation with, the next person you're alone with going, who is this, is the costume designer. And for actors, it's such an important first conversation. And Christopher Peterson, our brilliant costumer, was amazing. I had never known him. They knew each other, but he helped me find Pippi in those first conversations in the most beautiful way. And then the gift of Alex Friedberg, we had done Enlightened together, and she got me, she got my sense of humor, we shared a sense of humor, and, to want to build, let's say, meanness, sass, intolerance through clothing is just so much fun.
Well, we're going to open up to the audience in a minute. I want to ask before we do about the boardroom scene with you and Reese and Nicole on Big Little Lies from, I think it was last week's episode. I'm curious how much you practiced your side eye before shooting that scene where you and Nicole kind of have to subtly, and Reese kind of have to literally across tables, like staking out your boundaries, have to just go at each other in this very nuanced, sophisticated kind of way, but it's just so delicious. I mean, just tell me about filming that scene, please.
I mean, I don't know what it is. When you really know people, there's nothing like it. It's like I felt with Woody. We had known each other from a play 20 years ago, and there's just this intuitive, ingrained space of intimacy that you can go that's different. And I've worked with my mother several times. Like, it's an amazing thing to have that. So as beautiful as the experience is working with fellow women and doing that whole scene, Reese and I have become like family, and we did the film Wild together, which was this quite beautiful love story. So to look across from each other, all I can say is we're filled with such contempt with every look, and after every take, we would be grateful for them to cut so that we could howl out loud. Because it's just like, you can't believe how fun it is to hate someone you love so much. We're just I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm hating you this much. It makes me laugh so hard. And yeah, she gives it right back to me. We just go back and forth. So that's a lot of fun.
Are you guys watching Big Little Lies? I don't want to spoil you if
Yes.
you're not. But
Only because I've been too busy. I can't wait to...
He's starting another movie
of course,
in 3
understandable.
days.
Yes.
Can't wait to see it because everybody is talking about it.
Yeah, Craig starts pre-production on a movie next week, so it's one
Next
thing to the
week.
next. Yes. Afterward, chisel out some time for Big Little Lies. Wow. Okay, audience questions. What do we have for Laura, Craig, and Isabella? Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Hi.
I actually have a question for Laura. I'm a big fan of your movies, especially Certain Woman. I watched it 5 or 6 times, such a feminist movie. What's it like working for Star Wars now, especially since fighting and sci-fi, it's so different from the comedy and the independent movies that you've been doing?
Other than the experience of pinching yourself when you're in an environment that we all pretended to be in when we were 8, which is, honestly, it's jaw-dropping. So that's a beautiful experience. But then, as an actor, you just hopefully have to make something as truthful and authentic as possible. And I think part of what we all tapped into with the mythology of Star Wars, which is what's so brilliant about George Lucas, is, these are themes that resonate in a deep way. And all stories have the same theme about love and loss and longing. I mean, it's our movie, it's Star Wars, it's any great film, great book, great poetry is investigating the same questions we're all living with. That's why I'm privileged to be an actor.
Craig, would you ever leap into one? Would you do a franchise movie? Is that on your radar? We're talking about these, transitioning from indies to biggers. What do you think?
Hell yeah, yeah. She doesn't even. You don't even have to encourage me. It has to be the right fit. We're talking Star Wars. I was a Star Wars kid. I mean, my God. So George Lucas, if you're watching, Wilson
This is your
opening.
man.
I was a child of the '80s, so those franchises in particular, the Spielberg, Lucas world, Indiana Jones, and Star Wars. I was a big James Bond kid, actually. I think they only hire British directors. Maybe not. That's been the track record, at least. But James Bond people, if you're watching. But I would absolutely do a franchise movie. I would love to. It would need to be kind of the right fit, and bring it on.
Craig, the next thing you know, you're going to get like a 007 card with like no name on it. It's going to be all black. Be like, call
Show
this
up at
number.
5 p.m. to this location.
Hi, so this film sounds like it has some amazing profanity. How fun is it to do
Oh,
that?
yes.
And
So fun.
Are there any films that have great profanity, some of your favorite films? And also, Mrs. Dern, I just have to say that more than anything in my entire life, I'm so excited for Twin Peaks. And I know you really probably can't say anything about it, but how awesome is it going to be?
Good questions.
Okay, well, maybe we'll start with the answer about profanity. For Isabella, how fun is it to use profanity in a movie?
I've never cussed before this movie. I didn't even know a cuss word.
Her mother's here.
Somehow I don't quite believe it.
No, it was, sometimes it called for it in the scene, and sometimes it didn't, but when it did, we definitely
More often than not, it did.
especially in this movie. No, but it was a lot of fun, especially because we were playful about it, and it wasn't in a derogatory, attacking sort of way. But it was fun. We definitely played with it a bit more than the movie showed, but it was fun.
And Twin Peaks is gonna be amazing. I'm so excited. I feel just like you. I haven't seen it. I have no idea, and I just entering the world in whatever way I was allowed was the greatest party you can imagine. So, yeah, I'm geeking out myself.
And the final piece of your question, I'm very fond, it's actually not a television show, I'm very fond of the cursing on the show, it's not a movie, it's a show, on the show Veep.
I knew you were going to say that. Yes, absolutely.
The best, most insane creative profanity you will ever find in your entire life. Wonderfully so.
All right, I think we have one more audience question coming. Yes.
Hi, guys. Thanks for being here. I'm curious for Isabella and Laura, what kind of roles are you more drawn to in terms of genre? And then for Craig, what kind of genre are you more into directing?
No roles. I hate acting. No, for me, I just like any role that I think will both affect me as a person as well as affecting others. Because one of my big things about one of the big reasons why I love acting is I love affecting people, and I love making people feel something or learn something about themselves through a movie, because it's 2 hours away from your life, and I don't know, like whether it makes you mad or sad or really happy. I really like roles that are really empowering, whether they are really messed up or really like normal. It doesn't really matter to me as long as I feel like I can gain something really special from it, Yeah.
And I would just add to that, last night we were talking about this very thing with Woody and his wife Laura, who's amazing. One of the great gifts of this movie, getting to know her. And we were trying to figure out what is the thing, as an audience, like what's the thing you love the most? And we were talking as actors, what's the most incredible genre space that you can enter? And a lightning bolt went off in all of us, and Laura goes, the laugh cry, the laugh cry. And we're like, the laugh cry, like when
your best friend, your lover looks you in the eye and something so heartbreaking has happened and you can't help be laughing. It's just tears are falling down your face. And Woody was like, Laura, we got to be in a laugh cry. And that just so sums up the love story of Wilson, the thing I love, that you can find the love of your life and maybe it's too broken to be together and maybe not. But perhaps if you're not, they're the person that helps you find your way to love, even if you don't end up with them. And that's beautiful and heartbreaking and something I think we all understand. So the laugh cry.
And I would just piggyback on that to sort of answer the question. You know, if you look, I've directed 3 movies, and I was thinking about them just in terms of genre, because they don't necessarily fit neatly into one genre or the other, but they are both intersections of comedy and drama. And so I'm interested in that space where the funny, sad, the laugh, cry, because that's how real life is. I always say real life is genre agnostic. You know, it's a comedy, it's a drama, it's a thriller, it's a horror movie, sometimes within the same day, you know. That said, if thinking a little more genre, I love the specific subgenre, which I will call the little creatures attack movie. So we're talking like Gremlins or Tremors or like the monster movies from the 1950s. Arachnophobia is one I love. They were really big in the 80s for a while. We haven't seen one in a little while, so I like little creatures attack movies.
Hope you have one up your sleeve.
I know, I'm planning one, so that's also, yeah.
Hope Laura and I get a job.
You're hired.
We love you.
Networking. Laura, Craig, Isabella, thank you so much for being here. This has been such a delight.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.